Tinfoil hat.
Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Go! Morning Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to do. I'm here to
Rock!
join me as always, Xavier Guerrero, and on the ones, twos, Jay Nice, Johnny Woodard. How are you guys? I feel like deja vu, brother.
Yeah.
Anyway, so a great episode today. We got Jack Allen on from the Kojak podcast, coming in, dropping hammers on us. Nothing but a banger on that nuclear bombs don't exist. Very excited. We'll probably have to have him come on and just ream out Brian Callen, but that's a different story for a
That would
different
be great.
That'd be great. A lot of great stuff going on. Please go to samtripoli.com for all my dates. Tomorrow night, we got a killer lineup at Comedy Chaos at the Comedy Store. Murder lineup. Look at that. Matt Rife, Jeff Dye, Tony Rock, Jessime Peluso, Eddie Bravo, and my boy, Jonathan Kite. Nothing but bangers, okay? Then Costa Mesa. We're going to have one. This is Friday. No, this is Thursday night. No, when is that? Is it? Yeah, Thursday night.
Thursday night.
I'm in Costa Mesa. Friday night sold out at the Comedy Store. And then on the 24th, I'm in Yuma. Tickets for the first show almost sold out. So hopefully they'll be on the second show. It's going to be a great show. And then Toronto. Buddy, I'm coming. Guns a-blazing. Even though I think your prime minister took all your guns. Guns a-blazing. Bang, bang, pow. Dude, I'm at the Royal Comedy Center. Let me get weird. Getting weird in Toronto. Talking mad shit about these unsuspecting fools. Join me, guys. And if you go to samtripoli.com for all of your Sam Tripoli needs, I mean, we're talking Rockfin. You just click there, you get all my Rockfin shows, whether it's Tinfoil Hat, whether it's Tinfoil Hat Premium, Tinfoil Hat, My Zero, and then Conspiracy Social Club, all that there. I load up probably about 6 episodes a week. Then if you want to go Cash Daddies, you can get on the Patreon there. It's a really good show. It's a crazy time to invest, but they always say the great investors make a lot of money in crazy economies. And Howie Dewey is nothing but fire, bro. Just for $20, you get daily investment advice. And then for $1,000, Johnny and I, if you're really nice, we'll let Xavier show up and we'll watch you make love for $1,000. And you get the whole month. So it's not just one time, the whole month. We'll all watch you guys make love. And we'll give you tips. So if you're struggling, just let us know. Got new t-shirts, guys. I'm very excited about the new t-shirts. 2 new ones. Conspiracy theorists aren't wrong. Your algorithm is just lying to you. A great way to start a nice little party starter right there. And then your algorithm is lying to you. Those are great shirts. A great way to support the show. Elongated Skulls back. Buy gold and silvers. Wise Wolf, hydrogen brown gas, and Harley Rays, crystals, everything you need to get spiritual right there. And then join Nukes Social. Just click on that and you could go to the Only Conspiracies Telegram and Zero Telegram. So anything else, guys?
Go check out We Don't Smoke the Same. Ezone just got back from Japan and he bought me an animated fleshlight, so I reviewed on there. So if you want to hear me review a fleshlight, go to We Don't Smoke the Same.
Yeah, Broken Simulation. It's happening. It's out there. Check it out. It's good entertainment. Good quality entertainment.
Enjoy an instant classic with Jack Allen. We're gonna go into the whole nuke psyop. Come get weird. Enjoy the episode.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink.
All
from the
right,
fountain.
let's get into it. Very excited to have this guest on. We've been going back and forth on Twitter about getting him a date and a time, and here we are. My God, look at his background, so set up, looking great. I feel alive. Please welcome to the show, Jack Allen. How are you, Jack?
Dude, I'm honored to be here. I kind of said before we started, but Sam, I'm like you. I don't know if you know, I was a IV heroin user for 10 years and
Thank you.
crack cocaine, loved it. And when I got clean, I didn't even know what podcasts were. And this was like 5 years ago. And I loved conspiracies then. And I've been listening to you for a long time, dude. So this is it's the epitome of my podcasting career. So I'm glad to be on.
Congratulations. It's awesome. We're very happy for you. Okay. But I'm very happy that you got are you sober?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you were doing crack and heroin?
Yeah. Well, you got to have the come
What,
down.
you just want to feel normal?
That's a good point. Well, I don't know. So I was real messed up because I would put vinegar. I don't know if you're not in the crack to break it down and put that and that destroyed I used to be very good veins. I'd give blood. The nurses would take photos. They say, wow, your veins are beautiful. And now when I go get my blood, I say that one, it's not going to work. Vinegar was in there. It's not going to work.
Oh, what's the vinegar for? What is that?
Because it like breaks it down some way. Because you can do it with cocaine, but I'm from Philadelphia area, so there's this place called Kensington, one of the largest open air drug markets, and coke was like harder to find than the crack. So I had to figure out a way to get that bell ringer. I'm sure maybe Sam knows that phrase well, and yeah.
I talk about my speed use, and some people use it against me, and that's okay, but I like to talk about because, one, I know there's a lot of people out there struggling with it. So I like to let them know that you can get out of there, that you don't have to. That's not the rest of your life. And you just have to take it one day at a time. And, I get a lot of shit. Oh, you're still on speed. You're still on the guy. You don't trust me. You wouldn't even know if I was on drugs, but I'm not. I'm clean sober, December 9th, 2020.
Awesome.
And I'm very guarded about that date. It's very important to me, and it's allowed me to live a wonderful life that I wasn't able to live before. But enough of that. Jack, could you please tell us where our listeners can find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Kojak Podcast, COJAC, and that stands for Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence. That's the title of my podcast. And I'm on YouTube for now. I got my first episode taken down because of damn Nick Hinton. But yeah, so you can find me there right now. And yeah.
Well, Jack, I want to tell you something real quick about YouTube. If I was you, I would learn to play the game, because it gets really cold when you get kicked off YouTube. It sucks. So you got to figure out how you can put stuff on there and not put stuff on there. We have somebody putting our show on their own YouTube channel. It's not even us. And I'm wondering if that's going to cause us problems on our other channel, because I'm trying to play the game here.
Yeah.
I have enough brands I can put on YouTube that doesn't violate them, don't tell too much truth to the masses policy that they have. So my whole thing to you is just try to play the game the best you can, because you don't want to be off of YouTube.
Yeah. Luckily, I got that linked with Odyssey, that it connects over there. So that's like my backup. But I usually just put my shows on because I know what I can say. But then you always get somebody on there that just says something like just crazy. And you're like, dude, you can't say that on this.
That's the good stuff. Anything Nick Hinton says is the good stuff.
Oh, he's I always tell him, dude, there's some people that have just like something special, the way their brain works. It's like good artist or whatever. And I always tell him he's one of those people that
I agree.
I love that
has
guy.
Something special. Yeah.
Well, I think he's really gifted. He's a great guy. I think we have him coming on soon because he got another book. This guy cranks out books.
Yeah.
I can't even put out one book. Guy's got like 90 books.
You should do it, dude. You got a good story to tell.
Well, I was working with my, the Booker Mark on spiritual book, but my spirituality keeps changing in terms of like I go deeper and deeper, that I don't want to put out a book that has things I don't necessarily agree with anymore. So I don't know. And I was going to think about putting out a book about my journey, but I feel that's like a little egotistical. Like the story of me, like anyone gives a fuck, like
No.
so I'm debating what I want to talk about. So we don't know. But enough about me, Jack. Here we are. I got the email about what you want to talk about, and it's one of my favorite discussions, and that is, do nukes exist, and have we used them before? So Johnny, these are the ones that get Johnny a little uncomfortable because he's the nerd dork.
I love it.
They love all the science.
I'm utterly
stuff.
comfortable and is get as weird as you like. I'm totally fine.
Well, so I would. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Go on.
So all I was gonna. So I can't speak to the technology they have now, like hydrogen bombs. What I'm 90% certain is that no nuclear bombs were used in World War II. That is the claim that I would stand behind. Hydrogen? I don't know. Now I don't know. But at that time in 1945, no nuclear bombs were dropped in World War II. Yeah,
I think that the whole story of uranium is just such BS that I'm not saying they don't have big bombs go boom. I'm not saying that. I just don't think they have nuclear bombs, and that they made nuclear bombs into this like the Michael Jordan of bombs, and that only some people get and some people don't. But also countries that make no sense to have it, that just like, wow, they got a nuclear bomb, but these people could get it. It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
So about nuclear bombs, when we mean nuclear, do we mean that it comes with radioactiveness, right?
Like
that
the
what
mushroom,
that means?
Yeah, like the mushroom cloud, the nuclear, this uncontrolled, or I guess controlled, but this very fast nuclear fission. And I'm not like a physics guy, so if anyone wants to check out the book, it's written by this anonymous physicist because he was too afraid to put his name, but it's called The Nuclear Hoax. And that's where I got all this, and he was, like I said, he's a physicist. So he goes into a lot of detail that it just goes way over my head, but he provides a few metaphors or similes. So that's the way that I can visualize it, because I never took a physics class in my life. So.
Well, it just gets into the fact that we know there's a group of people and their power is all based on illusion. Their whole thing is manifesting. They have to get us to manifest them to go to war, to do anything, and they create illusion, magic to get us to manifest it. So the whole thing is that you want to create something that's so scary that people will just wilt at the thought of maybe it happening and cause the masses to run around like the sky is falling, and something that they never could themselves say for certain exists, meaning that, you get into viruses, you get into climate change, you get into nuclear bombs. These are things that 99% of the population has never actually seen themselves. But take the words of authority and science and doctors who have now, especially the last 3 years, been busted lying to us constantly about everything.
Exactly, dude. And it's always funny. Like the first nuclear so the first atomic bomb test site, the Trinity site in New Mexico, just how you said that you had to take their word for it. There was, I think, 400 people there, and the 400 people. Did they see the bomb go off? No, because what they had to do before they released the bomb, you had to lie on the ground with your eyes closed, turned around, and cover your ears. So, but the photo they have, which they only have.
Let's get into your stories because it's great. Let's start. Let's start with the premise is no nuclear bombs were used in World War II. Let's start there. Let's start with the actual bomb, right? Let's start where you want to start. Where do you want to start?
Well, so I like the way I started was it's just been like you said, a consistent fear point and just to fuel the military industrial complex for the last 80 years. And so like the one right now that supposedly Russia has is the Satan 2. And that was the one in 2016. I think they have a new one, but it supposedly drops a 50 megaton charge. This is bigger that's more bomb than all the bombs dropped in World War II, including the nukes. And a lot of like ancient alien people, they'll like reference Sodom and Gomorrah or that book, the Mahabharata, and the Hindu texts, and they'll say, or I think even David Icke has a theory that's how Mars got exploded was nuclear bombs. So again, all these like kind of not David Icke, but the ancient alien theory that I don't really subscribe
I've heard
to.
it on Greg Carlwood's podcast before. A guy like, we've tested some of the chemicals, the soil.
Yes,
and it's nuclear active.
Right. Well, and so I think they point to this to set the precedent. Like, see, this is totally possible. We've been using this for forever, all the time. But so I just think that's like important because people always will reference that stuff, like to fear you. Like, see, it's ruined it's ruined a planet before. It's ruined civilizations before. Let's just to keep building that fear. But so what actually is a nuke? It's I guess it's a huge bomb that with nuclear fission, they shoot it out in the atmosphere. It re-enters through suborbital flight now, and there's safety devices to prevent it from going off. And eventually when it goes off, it releases this infrared energy that, melts skin. It burns shadows onto the wall. Well, I don't know if that's like just that alone. And there's have a few, you can look it up, nuclear shadows on the wall. Is this Peter Pan? I mean, that alone, and someone explain to me, can you how does a shadow burn onto a brick wall?
Advocate.
Oh, I mean, my only guess would be that the blast, the body blocks some of the blast. So what you actually see is the outline of do you get what I'm saying? Like you're seeing the absence of blast material in the shape of a body because the body was blocking the blast.
That's the only thing I can think of.
They vaporize the bodies. That's what nukes do. They vaporize everything.
But it's not. I mean, it can't be
mile radius.
It can't be literally instantaneous, though, right? It must take like a fraction of a second. And I guess the idea would be that as much material as can be deflected in a fraction of a second is what you see the outline of. That'd be my guess. Playing devil's advocate, of course.
I got a quote. He was one of the guys we learned about in science class. If I have I'll find his name, but his big quote was, any theory you can't explain to a barmaid is probably no Rutherford. I don't know. So the Rutherford, it's something with, I don't know, chemistry. If you can't explain a theory to a barmaid, it's probably not a good theory. And not that that's a great response to that, but it's just, they always come up with these, and as we continue, these fantastical reasons or things that you're just not smart enough to understand this, and I just don't believe
or like on that day in this moment the laws of physics basically didn't apply, and that this thing that would take like the greatest odds ever just happened to happen always all the time in these high impact events, right? Like the magical bullet theory. This time, somehow, a bullet just did a Dukes of Hazzard fucking donut in the middle of the air and came back and totally acceptable. And that these people who are from deserts in the Middle East pulled off the greatest airplane maneuvers, aviation maneuvers of all time ever, that pilots of 30 years say they would have an almost impossible chance of pulling off. These guys who didn't even learn how to land planes, couldn't even land a plane, somehow pulled off the greatest aviation feat of all time. And that when they hit this building that was built to withstand multiple planes hitting it, somehow came from fire at the top, which made floors 20, 30 floors below collapse.
The only example of a furniture fire or the only fire that's ever brought down a building all happened on the same day in 3 buildings. So yes, of course.
Yeah, and let's not forget the airline, the plane that flew into the Pentagon and somehow didn't snap any of the electrical wires, high wires around it, and then the plane that completely disappeared into the ground. After that, we've never seen an airplane hit the ground and completely disintegrate. But no, on this day, all of these amazing events all just happen to be pulled off in this one high impact event.
And this story is going to be the exact, as we get like the exact same thing. It's like the classic Americans to the last second. Oh, we figured out, and fix little twink went off perfectly. There it was. That's what they worked perfectly. That was it. So another thing people will say, mushroom clouds, right? Oh, it's a mushroom cloud, so it's an atomic bomb. So I don't know if you guys remember that Beirut explosion from a few years ago. That had a mushroom cloud. And so people were like, oh, it was a nuke. It was a nuke. Mushroom clouds happen anytime it's an accelerated, a massive release of heat. So when volcanoes go off, there's a mushroom cloud. The Beirut explosion, there's a mushroom cloud. And much other examples of bombs that also release mushroom clouds that are not nuclear bombs. So that's just another that's one of the main things. If you say, what happens when the nuke goes off, they'll say a mushroom cloud. So that's incorrect. That's
my favorite thing. And Johnny, you can jump in anytime you want to play devil's advocate.
Please do. Yes.
Of just somebody pushing back on our insanity. But my favorite thing is whenever they're filming a nuclear blast, everything is just devastated, except for the camera. The camera seems to be perfectly fine, never shaking, never moving. Everything is just being annihilated, having its atoms just disintegrated by the heat and the power. But the camera's fine. The camera's perfectly fine, never moving.
Sam, you don't know they use the same camera that they use on the moon landing.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
It's the same technology behind how it was already there, how it doesn't move.
Yeah, how it's able to pan up as it's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great point, XG, because the one photo, there's literally one photo from the Trinity test site, and it's this one that a random witness or somebody that's not is totally random they took, and it's this red. It's made red for some reason. It reminds me exactly of like the NASA photos on Mars and stuff like that. Like it proves so little suppose they had all these classified photos that they released in 1947. They said, okay, yeah, now you guys can see it. They made a little like documentary, probably if you imagine like the 50s, 60s, like the things they would show to a student's classroom of all the pictures of this Trinity test site. Those photos,
really great.
They're not from when they released the Trinity bomb. They're from another bomb they released that was a non-nuclear bomb. But they passed those photos off. They were classified till 47, but those are the photos that they use when they're showing the Trinity test site explosion. It's not actually from the nuclear bomb that was dropped. Like I said, there is one photo.
These ones right
yes,
here?
that photo right there. That is the photo. Yeah, right there.
And that's not from a quote unquote nuclear bomb, but that's another bomb.
This one, no, that was the only one from the Trinity test site bomb. That was the actual nuke they dropped.
The thing I don't understand is if the effect is the same, if they're equally destructive, conventional versus nuclear, who cares? I mean, they're all dangerous weapons that I don't think should be in the hands of madmen in our governments. But I don't quite understand why it's so important whether it's nuclear or not.
I think
Sam?
I think, Johnny, it's because they want to act like they have something that the quote unquote bad guys can't have.
And why? My question on that would be then why? What do you think? Like North Korea, called their bluff and was like, we're just going to tell everybody we have nukes.
Well, no? I'm gonna get into that. I want to wait a moment because I want to get into the actual because now we're talking testing here. Johnny, will you go look up all the videos of the testing that they did where we see the videos of devastation, buildings being rocked, cars being annihilated.
You're talking about the old test footage, right?
Yeah, the trees are just
The trees, yes, the trees.
trees are just it's just ridiculous.
I'm
Now,
gonna give you a choice. I'll let you choose here, Sam. Just give me one
okay,
second.
let's see real quick. This
And
is
just-
so.
Oh
this
yeah,
is my
pull up your.
favorite shit.
What, like this, maybe?
Yeah, those ones. These are my favorite. See if we intense footage.
This house was 6,000 feet from ground zero.
Look at that. Oh, look at that, dude. They want
Other
you to
homes
believe
that
that
were
was a
closer
real house.
were incinerated.
They want you to believe all this is real houses.
Well, now the thing with that is, what in the hell shot that footage? Now that's
What?
the real what in the hell camera shot that footage? It's closer to the blast than the house. The camera
That's the
in
whole
this
thing.
in this
Yeah,
thing.
that's
See this.
And you guys want to know where they made
Everybody
these
has
videos
seen
from?
that very
They made these videos from got Overlook Tower. It's or Overlook Mountain Studios or Ronald Reagan, the CIA movie place that Ronald Reagan acted in that was created, that was very prevalent in the hippie era movement. It's like, you know, this disguised place. That's where all of this footage of these nuclear bombs was all made
Johnny,
at this
can you go find
location.
some more?
the paint.
Sorry.
And let's
It ripped all the gutters off of the house. The chimney here was shifted about 6 inches.
Guys,
The blinds that were on the windows were
this
all.
house
it didn't
survived
actually
a
destroy the house.
nuclear bomb. That's what they want you to
But
believe.
otherwise,
Look at
this
this
house
house.
withstood the blast pressures and the heat from the nuclear test.
Okay, he said it was so that would make sense.
The
why
Apple II
camera
bomb
survived
was
then, if it
placed in a
bunker.
tower
Go
1,500
back to
feet
the other
above
ones
the
where they
ground.
show like the palm trees just being devastated.
And even if it was real, did they just make that whole house just for that bomb? Nothing else around it.
Oh,
There's
listen to
nothing
the
else
music.
around it.
Yeah, of course they
The
did.
bat.
yeah.
Listen
The
to the
Nevada
music.
desert in America is the scene of the latest atomic test. International observers come by invitation.
Now, this is
to
after the
join
war, right?
scientists,
55,
military
so-
and civil
Yeah,
defense
10 years
authorities making
after-
a study of the test.
Yeah.
After the end of the war.
A whole town of specially chosen types of buildings with dummies
Specially
inside them has been
chosen.
erected to study survival chances in an atomic explosion. Called
Oh, God, what a
Doom
bunch of
Town, the buildings and their
propaganda.
contents will
They
test
got,
the
if
effect
you're
of the bomb
listening,
at
they have
distances ranging from
they have children in their beds, mannequins of children, and like holding hands, and women. Looks like two women in bed.
By the way, it
together.
looks
Actually,
like
this
a
is mighty
lesbian couple.
mighty
they-
progressive,
They were
yeah.
woke back then.
props for that. And this guy's got an ugly
1 to
sweater
2
on.
miles. The extent to which
yeah,
food
two
will be
ladies laying
contaminated by radioactivity will also be studied, along with the effect
Young
of
girl
blast on
picking out
communication.
cans of food.
Fully protected cameras concealed inside and outside the buildings will take pictures of the blast scenes.
Just
The
so
bomb
hilarious.
itself is
Wonder what he
contained
was
in a
writing
device
down.
at the top of a tower 500 feet high.
Look at this guy.
He looks
Tanks
Nazi.
into the
He looks like a
blast area,
Nazi.
And officers are to occupy
probably
trenches
is.
only 2,600 yards from the bomb, the closest ever in a test. Night, and army personnel with recording equipment wait for 0 hour as others check their cameras. And now the bomb, the marvel and the horror of our time, is exploded. Inside the Holocaust, cameras record the havoc.
Come on, bro. Come on. Come on, bro. Pushing. Like, dude. This is so hilarious.
They had good effects, I'll say that.
Look at this, dude. You tell me those aren't little models? Look at this. You tell me those aren't models. Look at that, dude.
Well, those are real people, pretty clearly.
Yeah, those people just got fucked. Why does this sound like the end of a Bugs Bunny cartoon?
Because it's propaganda. That is strange. You're right, Sam. The music choice. Coming to a town near you.
Gotta do it. Yeah.
Nuclear blast.
After the fireball,
No,
the
stop.
mountains mushroom.
So let's just go through this. They want you to believe that this bomb was so devastating that it annihilated these buildings, but these people hanging out with scuba goggles on perfectly fine.
I mean, they're a lot farther away and suggesting, but I agree.
But Johnny, they said that they were almost within, the tanks were within 200 yards.
Yards? I don't think 200 yards, right? That'd be
Go
crazy.
to the beginning of it. When they
like a
shoot the
PCR
tank.
machine.
Well, now the tanks might have been, unmanned tanks. I don't think they were manned.
No,
Those were just
they show people getting in there.
There's no way there were people sitting in tanks 200 yards from the blast.
A whole town of specially chosen
Oh,
types
here
of
it
building
town.
itself is contained in a
A
device at the top of a
whippersnapper.
tower 500 feet high.
Here it is.
Guys, look at that right there. See
Tanks
that?
move into the blast area, and officers are to occupy trenches only 2,600 yards from the bomb.
No, okay, so officers are in trenches 2,000 yards away. That's what you heard.
The closest ever in a
Okay.
test. Trenches only 2,000.
Yeah.
2,000 yards away from.
And officers are to occupy trenches only 2,600 yards from the bomb, the closest ever in a test.
Yeah, so 2,000. They're in those people we saw in the trenches were 2,000 yards away, 2,600 yards.
All right. So, I mean,
And that's a 1.4 miles away, just so you guys know. And so again, supposedly everything within 2 miles of an atomic bomb being dropped should be vaporized. That's according to what happened in these different locations. But anyway.
yeah, I'm okay. So let's say you're not right in the 2 mile radius. You're a little past it. You're going to at least get a sunburn.
Yeah.
That's good.
You're at least going to get something. Hey, everybody, I want to tell you about Mr. Ballin' and Wondery, okay? A teen solo hiker who's terrorized by unknown figures dressed in white. 2 cops who quit their job at a local theater because of unexplained encounters with an alleged demon. An isolated forest in Canada where people keep turning up headless. These are just some of the strange, dark, mysterious stories you'll hear each week on Mr. Ballin podcast. In each episode, Mr. Ballin shares real-life haunting accounts, like the case of Haley Ziegu, who disappeared from a hiking trail for 51 hours. When search and rescue finally found her and asked her how she survived, she simply said her friend helped. She described him as her friend as a 4-year-old black hair with brown eyes. Damn. The friend was initially dismissed until they realized a girl had gone missing in that exact spot 23 years earlier, was never found. She was 4 years old, had black hair and brown eyes. Damn, dude. Damn. Going deep on all this stuff.
You know me, I'm a podcast lover. That's why I'm in this industry, and this is probably one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. It's got its conspiracies, it's got its true crime. You can't go wrong with this one.
Haunting. You love ghosts, bro. You're a big ghost guy, right, Xavier?
I get ghosted a lot. I gotta love ghosts.
So listen, hey, Prime members, listen to Amazon Music exclusive Mr. Ballin' podcast, strange, dark, and mysterious stories in the Amazon Music app. Download the app today. I was just thinking, Jack, as you were talking about how there's this notion that people are getting dumber. I've always believed that they're just getting more saturated with useless knowledge. Like the information that we're getting compared to what was this 1940, 1950? Just think of the information they got in 1950 versus the information you get daily today. It's not even close. We are drowning in stupid data, which is making us talk about stupid shit.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to focus on naming all the presidents when you've got butthole and fight videos coming at you every 2 minutes on Instagram.
Agreed, dude.
But they want you to believe that everyone back then was so much smarter because they could do like math, right? They could carry what's it called? Balance their books, even though we've talked about this on the show. They had a cash and maybe a credit card. Maybe. That's all they had to do was to balance their books. They didn't have Vimeo, Cash App, PayPal,
No, yeah. Anybody who thinks that those people were smarter, give an iPad to your great grandma and see what she does.
And see how that fucking goes. But also look at what they bought into. I mean, they listened to a radio thing that said aliens were coming, and people blew their brains out.
They did, dude.
Yeah,
that was the Tavistock Institute behind that, and they also, I mean, they're behind so much stuff, but like nuclear energy. The author of this book says nuclear energy, that's a feasible thing because it's a controlled something. But Tavistock was the one that started pushing out propaganda how dangerous nuclear energy is. So just relating to
for sure
to that.
But like, dude, I mean, just imagine like, and we talked about this before. Like, there was this time kind of like a couple years ago when, you know, when they were just trying to push all this crazy shit. And just I just feel like there was a rejection of it, like towards the end of, you know, in the middle of Trump's campaign, and there was all this stuff coming out, and Q was really riding high at that time, and they just couldn't get any propaganda really going. And maybe Q was, we can get into that another day, but you know, but I remember they brought back Dick Cheney, and they brought back like Henry Kissinger, of like who were from the golden era of propaganda, like they might be able to solve these problems. You're like, Henry Kissinger had it so easy. He had nobody pushing back on anything. None. There was nobody that was telling you that Vietnam was just about fucking opium and that they were lying to you about China. Bingo. All this fucking shit. They had it so much, like the propagandists had it so much easier back in the day than they do now. Now it's like they put out one thing and before they know it, there's 8, 9, 10 huge YouTube channels telling you what kind of bullshit that's happening. It's impossible.
I agree, dude. I agree. Yeah.
People used to be retarded.
Well, so this is so in 2011, the Washington Post. So, you know, I mean, not today, not that it was reliable then, but they did this. They with a place called Lawrence. It's Lawrence. It's like a Los Alamos kind of lab out in California. So they have a supercomputer. You know, so a million times faster, better, smarter than all the computers that we use. And so they said, let's do an artificial Manhattan Project test. So they use this supercomputer. They put in all the information, you know, everything from soups to nuts. They start from the beginning, everything that they did, the Manhattan Project. They ran it through this with the exact numbers, everything. So what do you think happened with that supercomputer? Did it say, success, it works perfectly? The quote was, it failed catastrophically every single time. They couldn't even get it to the airplane. They could not do a single thing with it. And so, I mean, that is like one of my favorite parts of evidence. So what so you guys are telling me that the Albert Einstein, who was questionable to say the least, what him and Oppenheimer, they're with pen and paper and the calculator and whatever, what's the Chinese thing, abacus or whatever. Yeah. They were able to solve these issues that a supercomputer in 2011 couldn't figure out. That's American. That's American ingenuity. That's why. That's how they did it.
Yeah. Well, it's just again, and you just go back to how there was just we were all very. I wasn't around during that, but the people that were around then, very naive about science, very naive about just authority. And this is kind of the beginning. And it kind of starts after World War II, right? That after World War II, you start to see the Nazi infiltration of America and just the slowly, like, it's kind of that movie. Who's the guy who did The Office? What was the movie about The Office?
Ricky Gervais?
Yeah, what was that movie where he's like in the movie where nobody lies? Do you guys remember that?
The Invention of Lying. Yeah.
The Invention of Lying. And like one day, just somebody just, oh, dude, we could lie and everyone's going to believe us.
Oh, dude. Well, that's why like Nixon was such a big thing, is because it made the nation cynical for the first time, against the government, especially that generation, which had grown up kind of just believing everything that got handed down from Washington. They were
I'm also kind of on the fence on Nixon now. Not that I think he was a good guy, because anybody in that position isn't a good guy. But if we're
You got shit done, man. You got a lot done.
Well, it's also like, if it's true, and there are tapes of him talking to the head of the CIA going, I know you off JFK. We all know it. And then like next thing you know, like, oh yeah, there was a break-in this office called Watergate. And all the crazy, this guy's got to step down. He was cheating. You're like, oh, that's why he's gone? Because he got caught cheating? Or was he just not? And just the beginning of the CIA taking over everything over and over and over again. It's kind of crazy.
I agree. I don't know enough about Nixon, but I've started, and I question anytime I have a kind of a general rule. Any person history writes as like, not ever, but there's always exceptions to rules, but there's usually more to the story. If history writes you as a bad guy,
you're totally right, man. If I'm being told you're a good guy, I assume now that there's something shady about you. And if I'm told you're a bad guy, I gotta go, okay, what's going on? Now that's not all people. Like I said before, like I think this thing between Putin and the West, people want to go, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy? I go, it's definitely possible they're both bad guys, and just one dude might be on the right side of this argument. I'm not going to be a Putin apologist and be like, Putin's a good guy. He's just trying to fight the New World Order. I'm like, no, dude, Putin did some shady shit back in the day with that theater attack. And
he was with Russian intelligence. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. Let's not. We do this all the time. The left loves to do that, like where they just love to make people they hate. Like now they're all in love with Mitch McConnell. They're in love with George Bush and Dick Cheney. I remember when this one comic, I'm not gonna say his name, but he was like, Paul Ryan tried to warn us. You're like, dude, you're a liberal. You hated Paul Ryan 3 years ago. He was the biggest piece of shit that was stealing the fucking Rage Against the Machine when you thought they really Rage Against the Machine, using his music for fucking working out. You remember when we all made fun of him in PX90 because of that shit? Yeah. Now they're like, he tried to warn us. He was just a good guy. I'm a good American. You're like, oh God, you guys just
George Bush is even worse though. George W. Bush. I mean, the way he's been sort of they treat him almost like a elderly, like an uncle or something. You know what I mean? Like an old grandpa or something like that. Like,
Uncle Bush.
He's trying hard, He's a good man.
Man, what do you know, man? What do you know? What do he really do bad, man?
He loved our country. We disagreed on the issues, but he loved our country.
Perfect, man. Well, he's at least not Trump.
Guy's a fucking murderer.
You guys see the new pictures of Michelle Obama with her weird chest plate thing?
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
And they're talking about how that's only usually associated with boys. Have you seen that?
Well, dude, I just posted this on my Instagram, but it was like one of those Amazon AI things, and it classified Michelle Obama and Serena Williams both as males. So,
well, dude,
AI could be their downfall here.
I saw Serena Williams live in person, and I have never seen a Viking before in my life. And that was the most Viking human being I've ever seen. And the only thing I will tell you is that she had the ass of a woman. That was a fucking Viking ass peach. I mean, dude, I thought I was watching a 300 walk by. I'm not lying to you. I've never seen a human being like this before. I was like, this is the biggest. I felt like I was in Jurassic Park and I saw my first T-Rex. Like it was such a different human being than I've ever seen in my life. I texted Johnny. I'm like, Johnny, Serena Williams, and she's a Viking. So if you're asking me based on seeing her, that's a woman. But that's the biggest woman I've ever, like, muscular Viking that I've ever seen in my life. I'm just telling people are going to give me shit about this. You could tell a trans by their butts for sure. She had a fat peach. Fat peach. I'm just telling. Like, you couldn't even hold it, bro. You'd have to hug it like this. And she had like 3 of her servants. Well, I'm going to talk about Broken Sin, but it was the craziest shit I've ever seen. But back to this. So let's get into the actual bomb dropping. Okay.
Yeah, so sure. Well, so real quick. So one of the things people, if it's So only certain countries have nukes, right? And a lot of the reasoning behind that is it's very hard to get uranium. It's hard to enrich this uranium to plutonium. But there's been so far 500,000 kilograms of uranium produced since 1945. Only 2% has been exploded. And so, I mean, if we know anything, the U.S. government, I mean, they've lost trillions of dollars. You're telling me that just hasn't, they've kept all of that, hidden well perfectly. They say another reason why not everyone has it is secret knowledge. It's super top secret. Well, it's interesting. After they dropped the bombs in 45, if you'd wanted to go look, maybe some schematics or what happened. Well, you know what? Just like the moon landing information, the billions of dollars in today's money they spent on the Manhattan Project, they destroyed all the information, guys.
Unbelievable,
you can't check
dude.
it. You can't, because of course it's national security, but not only that, it's such national security that actually there was a guy, an author. And there's been lots of people that have. You could reverse engineer a nuke today. There's information that's been found in libraries, just all this information that's leaked out. A guy, Klaus Fuchs, which is a funny last name, he leaked supposedly all the data of the Soviet Union. But it's basically all in the public domain. And then there was this author, and this just, again, it just screams conspiracy. This author, can't think of it. I'll find his name. I think it was also Lawrence, but he wrote this book that was an all-encompassing book about nuclear bombs. Like the top dogs in the nuclear world, they wrote off on the book, like this is exactly correct. And then, after he releases it, weeks in the paper, it starts putting out like this is national security secrets. This man should be arrested, blah, blah, blah. How often is information that they didn't want to get out has gotten out, right? It just reminds me of like the Da Vinci Code or a Blair Witch Project thing. Like, this is a true story. Like this guy, he got all the info, he got the sign-offs on all these smart people, but oh my God, he's a national security risk. But we'll let him release the book. It's okay. Tell me how many books they've stopped.
Yeah.
What's that? Sorry.
No, sorry. I'm cutting you off.
No, you're not. I'm done.
Coffee. Sorry.
So what about the Boy Scout?
I love that. I cut you off. You apologize, but then XG jumps in. Go on.
Because neither of you guys want to talk. So what about the Boy Scout? Wasn't there some Boy Scout that made a nuclear reactor in his backyard and his name was David? Isn't that, you never heard of that one?
I never heard of that before. No. Was it a nuclear reactor or a nuclear bomb?
No, a nuclear reacter, and he disappeared, and supposedly he's working with the FBI now.
Is that the guy who talks like this on Instagram? Have you seen him? He's like
this kid called David Hahn. That's who you're talking about, right? Actually,
yeah,
David Hahn, the nuclear Boy Scout. He was a nuclear. He's dead now. A nuclear radiation enthusiast, which that's funny. A nuclear radiation enthusiast who built a homemade neutron source at the age of 17, and he had a career after the whole scandal with the device. He had a career as in the Navy, maybe? Yeah, he joined the military, enlisted in the Navy. He was assigned to the nuclear-powered USS Enterprise. And then he died at 39 as a result of multi-substance intoxication.
Oh.
Fentanyl.
Yeah, shut it down. But all this stuff validates nuclear bombs, right? Like, we recorded an episode earlier than this. It's going to come out after this, though. It's our St. Patty's Day episode. But, we were getting into it, like everything that validates a virus. All these things that they're doing all validate viruses. So if you put out a book and then the government's like, oh, wow, my God, you put that all out? Oh, my God. Oh, man, we're really angry at you right now. You put this out that lets everybody know how to build a nuclear bomb. It's like it validates a bomb. And that's what they want. Whatever it takes for you to believe in the fucking ghost, they'll get you to do it.
Yeah. Dude, and I'm just bringing this because Johnny said the neutron thing. So this is the only way I can. So to make a nuclear bomb work, so you have all these neutrons outside the nucleus, they're flying around or whatever. And so the example is, if the nucleus was the size of a baseball, the neutrons that would be around that baseball are out in outer space. And I don't, we're just going to, for this, say that outer space exists, but they're out in outer space, and you're hitting these neutrons, and you can't slow them down, because if you slow them down, it won't work. And you need to smash them into this nucleus hard enough that they won't get trapped into the nucleus. And so another metaphor for this is, if you were at an NFL stadium, you have a handgun, and you need to shoot a mosquito that's down in the 50-yard line. That's the I don't know. That's what it's compared to.
Yeah.
So totally easy to do. Totally easy to do.
Yeah. I mean, again, here we go. The odds on this happening doesn't make sense, but for some reason, when it's pro-government, they're able to pull off the most amazing feats ever.
Absolutely. It's a Hollywood story, just like everything everywhere. Every story we have, like in America, it's just like an underdog, American grit, ingenuity. That's how we did it. That's how we did these impossible things. Or probably more likely, you're exaggerating a little bit here.
Yeah,
something's not right.
Big time. So let's go into this. So we have a moment where we basically forced Japan's hand in World War II. We know, the United States did not want to get involved in the war in Europe. America and the bankers wanted that to happen, because the narrative was going to be that they were going to basically set up America as the new superpower. Okay. So we had to go in there and then give America all of the credit for beating the Nazis, right? So World War II was about a couple things, and just annihilating Europe, okay, and weakening Russia. That's what it was all about. And then on top of that, they wanted to form Israel. So that was already in the works. So we had all these multiple things going on in terms of empire building, all that stuff. America did not want to go into war in Europe. You saw all these all these videos. Man, we don't want to go fight that war over there. They're on their own. Damn, right? So you had to figure something out. So what they did was they cut off the oil supply to Japan. Japan had no oil coming in, so they couldn't do anything. Basically everything's based on oil, which I personally think that they're demonizing oil, because I think part of this realm is that oil is a gift, and it's being used. It's a way to help us thrive. And these demons want to demonize oil, which is God-given to us to help us flourish. So you demonize, you make it so nobody wants it anymore. And then, just everything crashes and burns. But so you cut off Japan's oil. Go on.
No, it's just sorry, you said Japan ran out of oil. Did you know 90% of the oil from that Germany and Japan used in World War II? Where do you think, because the U.S. wasn't giving them oil, how'd they get their oil? Do you guys know?
Is it Russia?
No. There's a thing called, it's like RT. I don't have my notes, but 90% of the oil used by the Axis in World War II was created from coal. It's the Fischer-Tropsch process. 90%. Have you ever heard of the Fischer-Tropsch process? No, you probably haven't, because nobody's ever brought it up, because the hundreds of thousands of documents from 1920 till the end of the war that was worked on by German scientists that figured out this process. It doesn't just stop that you can create oil from coal. It goes in that it's a naturally reproduced, that you can create this oil substance from other substances. And why you think that maybe that'd be kind of important in America, where oil, we want to be, you could be totally self-sufficient without oil from Saudi Arabia. And you can make oil. They synthesize, like I said, 90% was synthesized for Germany and Japan, was being synthesized by their coal reserves. They never translated the papers. Because what's the benefit for the oil companies? What's that?
What was the process called?
It's called the Fischer-Tropsch process.
Oh
And
my
you can
God.
and again, and like that's just the tip of the iceberg. The from coal part of it, it goes so much deeper than that. But what's again what so our oil companies, you think like in the 70s when we had the oil crisis, and you would think, oh, oil companies are hurt. They made more money then than they ever did. Just this past 2 years, they've made more money than they ever. It has supply and demand has nothing. They control the supply. It's like the diamond industry. They release little by little. Peak oil. That whole thing was this guy who made up. Oh, he was like this coke addict. Nobody liked the guy. He was insane. And his prediction has been wrong. He in 1950 when he released it at Stanford or somewhere in Texas, he predicted 1970 was peak oil. They have just moved this peak oil claim they just keep moving it. They just keep moving it. They say, oh, this is the last big one. They find a huger spot in the Gulf of Mexico. They find a huge underground all over the place. So that oil, and that's a great book. It's called The Great Oil Conspiracy by Jerome Corsi. If anyone's interested in how oil is that's a total lie.
Interesting, dude.
Yeah.
Is everything conspiracy? Yes, everything's conspiracy. Hey, everybody, real quick, I want to tell you about our good friends, James McMahon and Copy My Crypto. Let me tell you about Copy My Crypto. Listen, so many people are making ridiculous money from crypto, but did you know it's easy for you to do the same? The Copy My Crypto membership site shows you the coins that YouTuber James McMahon personally holds and allows you to copy them. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's doing. You don't need to know a thing about crypto or how to invest. You simply need to do what he does, okay? So let me tell you about James. He runs Crypto with James YouTube channel, which despite heavy censorship has over 26,000 subscribers. Good for him. Since March 2020, he's told his viewers to buy 26 crypto coins. Had you put $100 in each, it'd be worth 123,000. Okay. Of the 26 coins, his top pick of the year, a coin called Phantom, went up 692 times from what he said. That one cause retired a number of people, including guys in their 20s and 30s. Remember, this is public knowledge. You can go to his YouTube and verify this yourself. So if you'd like to join the 2,800 members who copy James, then stop what you're doing and head over to copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's TFH. You'll not only find proof of everything I've said, but my listeners will get full access for just $1. Once again, that's copymycrypto.com/TFH. The recession is here, guys. You can suffer like everyone else or choose to thrive. James is the real deal. Go visit the site now. So then you get into like, what was World War I about? World War I was about getting the pharmaceutical industry out of Germany. So what is going on with Germany? Well, we've had friends on this show. I've had a buddy of mine that I graduated, El Dorado. I've talked about this a bunch of times. El Dorado, Tony Dorado, has talked about a war that the Bible talks about that's going to be between the pagans and the lost tribes of Israel. And Germany is basically one of the leaders of the pagan movement, and they win. So this is all part of this whole thing about weakening Germany. I mean, Germany seems to be playing ball, but then you get into they love to put leaders in the positions to weaken countries, not to lead them, but to weaken them.
Interesting. I like that. See, dude, because I don't know if the 30-year war, that was I always ask. I don't know if you guys know Odd Man. He's been on your show a long time.
He's
but
great.
He's a good buddy of mine. Shout out, listen to Odd Man if people listening. But I always, because the 30-year war, that was actually the first world war. It was fought in Africa, it was fought in Asia, but everything all these things, the Illuminati, the Rothschilds. I mean, over so many things come out of modern day Germany, 2 world wars. So and I always ask, what is with Germany? Why they have been demonized for 400 years. And so I've never, and no one ever has an answer. So I like that answer.
We'll get El Dorado on to talk about that again. I gotta get into that with him, but
that's interesting.
About on my premium content show. But so we get into that. Then the next thing is, the whole theory that they dismiss, the real deep conspiracy theorists dismiss this, and that was Hitler was related to the Rothschilds. You may or may not agree with that. Hitler doesn't believe it. But it fits into this narrative that the Rothschilds, every part of like World War II leading up to Israel, they had a hand in it. They were in 1919, I forget, they were given the rights to the land that is Palestine. They were given the rights to that from England. Then you have World War II happen, that the Rothschilds were basically running the camps. They were funding everything. They created a system to basically categorize and keep track of where each person was all the time. And then on top of that, the Balfour Doctrine, which basically gives them the right to Israel, and then the formation of Israel. And then the whole notion that, like, yeah, dude, they were thinking about a couple places. Like, there's somewhere they were thinking about somewhere in Texas. No, they weren't. There's a reason why Israel is where it is, and that is it's a landmass, which connects.
On this book, it's called Hitler Was a British Agent, and I haven't finished it yet, but it goes on just kind of supposedly the created Hitler was, these occult holidays. So there's this thing back in the 16, Middle Ages, even up to like the 1700s, called Prima Noctra, where I don't know if you heard of this, but so if you were a peasant, you just couldn't take it, dude. You could not take your wife's virginity. So what you would do is you'd have to have the Duke. They'd had to bang your wife on the wedding day because that makes sense, right? But Hitler's grandma worked as a servant in their grandmother. Okay, yeah, and the night that what they would do on these occult holidays is they would
something like that.
What? Yes, yeah. But they would wear masks, they'd climb through, they'd scare, so they terrify you, they rape you, and it's on these occult holidays. And so this is this raping on this holiday, blah, 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 is supposedly to set up to create the man that's going to be demonized. And,
So his grandmother has Olis Strackenbecker, and then he changes his name to Hitler at that point.
Interesting. Very
and then
good.
There's and then they just tell Paul Bunyan type stories about Hitler, like he was just walking through the battlefield and none of the bullets would hit him. It's the same thing about George Bush Sr. Like, yeah, he got shot down and he just somehow survived. You're like, the guy's changed his story 5 times. And then you have like all these people on the right rewriting history. Like there's this whole and I'm not gonna say his name, but he's got this whole thing that like Dan Rather made up a story about George Bush Jr.'s service. No, George Bush Jr. was a garbage man and was never showing up for his military service. That's not a made up thing. Like the way they tried to make it look like Al Gore tried to steal Florida from George Bush. Like, no, George Bush 100% jacked Florida from Al Gore because it was George Bush's cousin that was running CNN. It's like this is revisionist bullshit going on. Like I once got in a fight with Bill Simmons' buddy because he was like talking about how great Reagan was. I'm like, Reagan made a deal with Iran. That was disproved. No, it wasn't, dude.
Bill Simmons' buddy. Who was that? Who are you talking about?
He has a buddy of his from way back that his old friends from back in the day. One of his buddies that's a super conservative, and he was like talking about how much he loved Reagan. And I was like tweeting him. I'm like, dude, you're full of shit, dude. Reagan Reagan asked Iran to hold on to the fucking I go, dude, you're making up facts right now. You're making up facts. You're misremembering shit. But back to Adolf Hitler, like And like people can't come to grips with that. Hitler survived and lived in Argentina till he died of an old age. Nobody wants to talk about that. And that's why all that, when I was growing up, all that fucking Nazi hunting was just bullshit. It was just made up theater. He was like, dude, he's right there. That's why they always get like a guy who's like 98. He's on his way out. So like, we found him. He was a bagger at fucking Ralph's. Can you believe that? He was running a clock tower in fucking Auschwitz, dude. Now he's bagging at Ralph's. Like, really? Dude, you found him at 98 years old? Yeah, we got him. I'm like, what about these German towns down there? Anything about that? Anyways, so going back to Germany, going back to the bombs going off.
Yes. So I'll go back. So just for the Trinity test site, because there's just so much stuff about that. So it was called Gadget. And so it was detonated in New Mexico, obviously, 5:29 a.m. in 1945. And so the reason why they picked this site in New Mexico, well, it was very flat. So they wanted to see that's how the most damage could be done. That's how we test it. It's a flat land, which is because the least amount of damage will be done on a flat land. For some reason, I don't know why you want a valley or whatever, but that's why they picked it. It was the least amount of damage. Well, Hiroshima is one of the flattest places located in Japan, but all right, whatever, fine. I guess we had to pick that spot. But then 80, and so some quotes from Oppenheimer before they even released any of these tests. One of his quotes was, "The atomic bomb is shit." 2 months before the Trinity set, that was his quote. And someone talked about him was that he's a fascinating, complicated man. He seems to have the qualities of an actor. A guy named Richard Rhodes said that. They had a betting pool before Trinity. How big is this bomb going to yield? It's supposed to yield 300 tons of TNT. Oppenheimer predicted it would do 20. Oppenheimer predicted 300 tons. It was supposed to do 20,000 kilotons of TNT. So the main man, the father of the atomic bomb, 2 months before it releases, doesn't sound too confident to me. I mean, that's not what a confident person would do. Also, at that same time, and right 2 months before they're going to release the Trinity tests, they pull about 60% of the funding. They don't have a working bomb yet. They pull 60% of the funding, tons of scientists, they pull them off the project. Is that so they're either so confident, even though the Oppenheimer said the atomic bomb is shit, they're so confident it's going to work that they pull funding away, they pull their main scientists away, or is it more likely that they knew it wasn't going to work and they said, we got to figure out a way to fake this to work because this isn't going to do great.
They basically got rid of anybody they think would snitch. They got rid of them and kept all the gullible fucking sellouts that just would do anything for $1. Kept them around, got rid of everybody that would say anything.
Exactly. I didn't think about that, but that's what I would agree with. And just even again, for this Trinity test site. So when you create a computer program, and I think John, he's a pretty technical guy, so I don't know if you are like a computer program
Johnny's
or whatever.
the nerd dork of this show.
Have you ever heard of systems testing? Do you know what that is?
No, not really. No.
Well, so basically all it is like, I don't know, I'm just a video game. You test all the different parts of it separately. So you can say, okay, this part works, this part, before you do the whole test, because then you'll want to know which part you need to fix, right? None of it was done before any of these, not at all for Trinity, nothing. And so they were still nervous though. They're confident, but they create this millions of dollars. So hundreds of millions of dollars today, this object that's huge. It's impossible to transport. They put it out to Trinity. That's supposedly, should the bomb fail, it'll somehow collect all the plutonium. And they had to ship it. Like I said, it was millions of dollars to get there. Did they use it? They said, no, we know this is going to work. We're so confident, even though we barely have enough uranium to do anything, we're going to be fine. It's going to work perfectly. Even though also right before Trinity, I told you how they released that non-nuke bomb. It was like the similar setup as the nuke, but just didn't have the uranium in it, and electrical systems failed. So it didn't actually do as well as it was supposed to do. Did they say, maybe we should fix this? They said, oh, the test was wrong. It wasn't the system we made. No, the test that we ran was just totally wrong. But it's going to work. It's going to work. And they made two. I don't know. Most people know this. The Trinity bomb was a different bomb than the ones they released in Japan. So they sent the bombs that they're going to drop in Japan before they even ran the Trinity tests. So you create, and those were more, the Trinity was a more complicated setup than the other two bombs. But does that sound like something that makes so you've done 0 tests. It is all theory at this point, all theory. You're so confident that this is going to work that you ship it out before you've even tested the first one. That's that does that make like you millions of dollars? That's the process you thought of. You thought that was a good idea to do that? That doesn't make sense.
None of it makes sense. It doesn't make sense at all. And like how do you pronounce his name?
Oppenheimer. Yeah.
Oppenheimer, dude. Like how dramatic he talks in that one video where it's like Shiva is the destroyer.
I am become death, destroyer.
Yeah, it's just like, get the fuck out of here, you community college actor.
Which there's a big film coming out about him this year.
Yeah, that makes me even think even more he's a fraud.
Yeah.
Oh, and sorry, I keep going. I'm jumping. And the Trinity, so they picked it because they wanted it on a sunny day, even though everyone was going to be lying down and have their eyes closed. So they wanted it on a sunny day so they could get good visuals or all that stuff. Well, they released Trinity at 5:29 a.m. It's dark at 5:29 a.m. They had to use spotlights. So that's again, you want to see if this bomb works. That makes sense. Let's do it in the nighttime where you can't see. We need spotlights to see anything.
Damn.
Again, like that doesn't make any sense.
Damn, dude. This whole thing is shady.
So a lot of people, they'll bring up the green radioactive glass that happens in from the radiation or something. Well, there's also tons of that glass a lot of places over the world because they release nukes, I'm sure, but they're only slightly radioactive. That's how they get that. Like, this is radioactive because this trinite, it's like one letter off of what is formed supposedly from a nuclear blast. But so again, you want to examine that soil, examine all that stuff. It's so radioactive. So what I would do if I had a radio, I would spread it all around New Mexico, just dump it, just like they did with the rubble of 9/11. Do you want to examine it? No, let's just dump it everywhere so nobody can ever find it again.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Is that what they did?
Yeah, that's what they did. Yeah,
oh my God.
I had an idea that they had dump trucks moving all that shit out.
Yeah, dude, well, that's what they did with Giuliani cleared that for 9/11. They did the exact same thing for the Trinity test site. And the Trinity test, so they released it from 100 feet up in the air. So, okay, that's pretty high.
100 feet?
Yeah, that's where they dropped.
That high, dude.
Not that high, right? So high, but not, but for a nuke.
Hold on, let me get this right. You dropped a nuclear bomb 100 feet in the sky. 100 feet, bro.
Right. So this is a nuke, though. The crater that was created from this 100-foot explosion test, the crater was 5 feet deep, 30 feet wide. Does that sound like what a nuclear bomb would do? A 5-foot deep crater, 30 feet wide.
Bro, I mean, you're showing me this giant big bomb go boom. Okay, big bomb, go boom, right? And you're telling me you're having a pilot fly 100 feet.
Well, it was just like they put it on top of like a platform thing. Sorry. Yeah.
What do you mean? It's not dropped either, right? It's just detonated.
No, it was detonated from 100 feet up in the air.
Oh, okay. So it was just, so they had it on a platform.
Yeah.
And the bomb was there and boom. Okay.
Right.
All right.
And 5-foot creek, and like there's the photo, it's like embarrassed, dude. Like there's all I can't remember which photo is that one, but it's like pathetic. You're like, if I saw that, like if I was a military, I'd say, this is gonna end the war. Look, I can fit in this hole. Like, I want everything to be gone, dude. Yeah. Just those are the best parts.
What was the yield of that test again relative to the the bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
Yeah, so that one, it was 20K tons of power. Supposedly was 20 kilotons of TNT for 20 kilotons.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know, and I'm sorry, I'm not good with like the numbers of what that means.
At Hiroshima is what they're saying. It was the equivalent, 15 kilotons.
Yeah,
that was little boy.
Okay, I think it was right. And like in 46, they detonated one 90 feet underwater in the Bikini Atoll, and that was a 23 kiloton, so more than Trinity. So that was 90 feet under the water. So you would expect a huge asshole for there. Same exact thing. There was, and good luck finding photos of it. There's a few in the book, but if this is 46, the war's over. Like, right? You want to document all of the destruction. You'll see a lot of videos of the water and everything exploding up in the air, but to look at what happened under the water and everywhere else, very little evidence.
So, Jack, do you believe in radiation poisoning like Fukushima and Chernobyl?
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. I want to get into that.
Yeah, we can definitely.
Johnny, we've showed this video before, but will you look up guy eats uranium?
He's eating yellow cake, right? Is that hold on.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. Let's get into Hiroshima too, because it is absolutely hilarious. So let's get so that was what we were getting into. Pearl Harbor, America doesn't want to go into war. FDR is like, we got to get in the war. How are we going to do it? And so basically they starved Japan of its oil, and Japan's hand is kind of been pushed,
Totally unnecessary, he thought, and protested through a series of 77 lectures.
Picking up. If you put the probe right there,
have you seen this video? You've guys seen this video, right, Jack?
All right.
I've never, no.
Hold on, Jack, stop it. You've never seen this video?
No.
Okay, let me set up this. I love this. This guy is, what's his name? Johnny?
Galen Windsor. Galen Windsor
had basically built all the nuclear reactors across America.
All right.
Okay. So when this whole push that, oh my God, nuclear weapons, nuclear waste, all this shit, he did lectures going, they're lying to you. He goes, we used to swim in the water at these nuclear reactors when we had to fix it. So here we go. This is a video you can find on YouTube.
Gamma radiation is the most penetrating of all radiation. Oh, is it? All it's got between the rock and the probe is my hand. Doesn't count so pretty much, does it? What if I put the rock behind me? You don't suppose they've been lying to you, do you? I suspect they have. Well, let's do a little bit more.
This is so interesting.
I got a black bottle. Good stuff comes in white bottle. A bottle of no-dose. You can send children down to the drugstore to buy no-dose. All they need is money. In this are 660.
This man lived to 82, by the way. I just want to say that.
Oh,
white
interesting.
Caffeine pellets. And this one is uranium oxide, U3O8. You can't buy it for love nor money. The state of Washington sent 2 of their Gestapo agents over to my home to confiscate my uranium samples on the 17th of December last year. Got a challenge. I'd like to have somebody in the room volunteer to take all of this bottle or all of this bottle. The only thing I'll tell you is that one of them won't hurt you and the other one will kill you.
Ooh.
Do you want the white stuff or the black stuff? White stuff? You do. There's enough in there to kill 4 men your size.
This guy's very dramatic.
The government says we got to ban this material. It's radioactive. Let's check it in the bottom of the bottle. Not very radioactive. Let's take the cap off. Oh, goodness. Very radioactive. Okay, radioactive material. You pour it out in the hand.
Oh, snap, it's in his hands.
And that's radioactive contamination. Is it radioactive? Yeah, it is. Very radioactive. Now, decontamination is nothing but scooping it back up and putting it into the bottle. I just now decontaminated my hand. No, I didn't do such a good job.
Ooh.
Not good at all. Is it still radioactive? Yeah, that's called residual radioactivity. Now, under the decontamination rules of the government, when you decontaminate somebody like this that's that contaminated, and this is certainly a reportable incident under current DOE regulations, when you decontaminate him, it has to go down a controlled drain so that you don't disperse radioactivity. Do I qualify as a controlled drain?
Yeah. He's licked his hand.
Just licked it.
And now he's holding the what's it called, a Geiger counter to his tongue.
That I just ate is not soluble in body fluids. Because I've been eating this on lecture tour for 2 years, the state of Washington felt it necessary to confiscate my uranium samples so that I would be safe.
Many people are.
I think that's about the end of that.
So he eats the pellet, the little
crazy
thing. He eats it. That's uranium, everybody. So the U.S. government wants Japan to come in. They bomb Pearl Harbor, which allows us to go into Japan and drop a bomb on them. Now, here's what people don't realize, or they may realize, but never really sets in. Japan had surrendered. They had already surrendered at this point. So Japan had surrendered and the war was over. But the U.S. said, no, you just went too far. We're going to hit you. And that's when they went in and they dropped the nuclear bomb.
So I don't know. This is kind of really. So there was, so Japan, they dominated Asia for 100 years. America, we actually forced them to open in 1850. They were a closed country. We came in with 26 ships and they said, we want to be your friend, but you have to let us in or we're going to blow you to smithereens. But so Japan, though, after we opened them up in 1850, they dominate Asia for 100 years, thanks to pretty much to the U.S. We built Japan so they could attack us in 90 years later. But Japan, over those 100 years, they accumulated, and you can look this up. This is a fact. I mean, guesstimates, billions to trillions dollars worth of gold, Sam. I'm talking about 18-foot tall, solid gold Buddhas. They hid them in all these underground tunnels all over in the Philippines, in Japan and islands. And it's called Hashimoto's Gold. And it's the book called Treasures Hunters, if you guys want to check it out. Post-World War II ends, Dulles, and it was the OSS yet, but they get this guy who was like a servant of the prince, of one of the princes. He has a treasure map that the prince gave him. And all the engineers, they built these they had cyanide booby trapping because Japan's hoping to recollect this gold when they recover. Because like I said, it's football fields of underground booby trap gold lined. You can't even imagine. The U.S. finds that treasure map. We get it. And what do you think? Obviously, if you drop that in the gold market, gold will crash. So this is how one of my theories, because it was in 46 or 47, so right around the CIA about to be created. And that's the funding that they used forever to continue to build up the our black budget projects, that and selling heroin and drugs. But that gold, and it's unfathomable the amount of gold. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but literally, guys, 18 football fields underground. If you think the gold we got in the Middle East was a lot, this blows it into a new universe. The amount of gold and silver and jewels that we stole from Asia at this time.
So we're going after their gold. We dropped the bomb on them, and what happens?
It's a great question, right? Well, so before, like you said, they were done. They were done. So why do we pick Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Must be because they're building all the war machines there, right? They're the areas you need to hit. Well, actually, 80% of both those cities, days before the bombs were dropped, were napalm firebombed to smithereens. They were destroyed. Everyone left. There was nothing left. There was,
what was this? Hiroshima
and Nagasaki. The
were already empty when we dropped the bomb.
Right. They were gone because we already destroyed it that previous week. They were total. I mean, like 10% of the population was there, if that, like, because there was nothing there, dude. It was done. It was done. So why did you pick those locations? You want to show the effects of a nuke, you would pick one that's probably pretty maybe the Mitsubishi factory that's making all the weapons that are killing your soldiers. No. You pick. But see why they pick these places? Because they were already destroyed. So the photos that they're going to show are already destroyed. What do you do? Yeah.
I will always wonder why they never bombed like Tokyo. Why wouldn't you bomb like the capital?
Why wouldn't you bomb Tokyo?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? And there's just the lovely propaganda. So the one of the first books about the atomic bomb propaganda, it was eyewitness accounts of like 30 children. When did that book come out? Well, you don't want to strike while the iron's hot. He waited 15 years before he released that book because you want to, get your story straight, of course.
Yeah.
And all of these kids and there's the one famous book is the last train out of Nagasaki or the last train out of Hiroshima, that this guy that he was in Hiroshima, he got out just in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was in both of them, right? He survived them both. Well,
oh my God, really?
Yeah, just like the lady that survived on like the Titanic and the other. It's just our story.
Or the
this
people
is what
in
they
90
do.
school shootings. They're like at every school shooting.
Exactly. It's the same thing. But so this guy, he was in Hiroshima first. He went back to his wife. She was dead. So he hopped on a train. Well, again, how is the train running? A nuclear bomb was just dropped. In the earthquake in the 90s in Japan, it took them 90 days, 60 days to get their train, because they've got a very extensive train, whatever system there. They supposedly they were able to fix the train systems from a nuke in 4 days. In 4 days.
Can I just say can I add one thing to kind of bolster your argument too? There's this famous story of the big newspaper in Japan, their report, and I looked it up here. Hiroshima was firebombed. It appears the city has suffered slight damage. That was their description of the nuclear blast in Hiroshima after it happened in the newspaper.
And there was another guy, dude, this famous Russian, like he was
that
was
the most Japanese way of doing the report too. Slight damage.
But there's this Russian, like he was like a bomber, he was big time guy, and he got first chance to fly over and see what the damage looked like. And his direct quote was, it was something like, I didn't look any different than the fire bombings of Dresden or anywhere else. I thought he was excited to see what does a nuclear explosion look like.
Yeah.
He said he couldn't tell. He had no idea.
Johnny, also, can you play the video of the Jesuit priest that I asked you to find? I don't know the exact moment to do it, but basically, remember I sent you look, you had it up earlier.
I found it. It was me. I'm the one who pulled it up. You want to see it now?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I have it. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, here it is.
Is it right there?
Cool.
Yeah. So, can we hear it?
Did you hit share sound? Actually. When you shared it, did you hit share sound when you hit?
No, I don't click share. No, I don't think it lets me. Oh, there it is. Never mind.
So basically, what's going on here?
I think you gotta close it and then open it again.
Okay, what's going on?
There you go.
Oh.
You want to explain it?
Yeah, here, play it. Play it.
Witnessed and survived the Hiroshima blast. One of them, Father John Zymus tells what he actually saw. An eyewitness account.
I was in my room.
Stop it. Stop it. By the way, this looks like Joe Lozon's parents or great-grandfather. You remember the MMA fighter Joe Lozon? Nobody? Okay. MMA people will love that joke. Go on.
And suddenly I saw a light, like magnesium light, flashlight, which filled the whole valley. And looking out of my window to find out the reason for this peculiar phenomena, I saw nothing besides this light. And turning from the window to the door of my room, I heard a crash. It may have been 10 seconds after seeing the light, the flashlight. And immediately I was covered with splinters of the window frames and glass sticking into the walls and actually in my flesh itself. After a while, we saw a procession of people coming from the outskirts of the city up the valley. Many of them, most of them, were wounded, especially the parts of the body which were not covered by clothes, like hands, feet, back.
He says people were wounded, especially parts not covered in clothes. Yeah. Yeah. But not the face. That's interesting.
Well, and so
I don't quite get the point here.
But if these wounds were caused by radiation, then you would conclude that would protect you.
All of us who lived through this experience at the spot estimate the numbers of death at least as 100,000.
Stop it.
What is your opinion?
So
I don't quite get the point of that, Sam.
What he's trying to say is, like, if this guy experienced all this craziness, right? He's like all these marks and all this shit. Why were there no marks on his face? That's what I guess he was trying to say. But super interesting because I have watched that, and he's basically saying there's no radiation.
I didn't hear him say that.
Well, and I don't know if I don't know if he said that, but the Japanese government recognizes 1% of the population of radiation poisoning. 1%
of the city.
Of both of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 1% the government said they suffered from radiation poisoning. There was 170 trees that survived in Hiroshima. They call them survivor trees. So all of this of the bridges,
that's great.
Only one of the 20 bridges in Hiroshima were knocked out. Painted railings, air raid precaution signs, fine. What about at the crater? Right, a big crater. I mean, okay, this is the biggest bomb. There was no crater. This wasn't released from 100 feet up in the air. This was released right before it's supposed to hit the ground, supposedly. Well, why wasn't there a crater? Well, probably because they couldn't dig one in time to show you here's a crater. And this is the best part of.
That's the city. That's the city. That's the picture of it nuked right after.
And this looks no different than Dresden. This looks no different than any firebombing. And that guy, the priest or whatever, he talked about that bright white light. Well, you know what else releases a super bright white light is dirty phosphorus bombs, which when did we drop those? Oh, we dropped them all during World War II.
Oh, snaps.
Which you're not supposed to drop because it's like, it's very, I think if you get hit with it, it's like very bad. It's not a good thing. Definitely not a good thing. And but all the little kids in the stories, and so I know I'm jumping around. That guy with the 2 trains, he said when he heard the bomb was dropping or whatever, he was told that he should lie down, cover his eyes, and turn away. Well, that's weird because how would you know that? As a Japanese citizen, did you know that America was going to drop an atomic bomb on you? No. How did you know that was the correct thing to do?
Yeah. And by the way, going back to people weren't that smart back then. They all thought if they got under their desk, they would survive a quote unquote nuclear bomb.
That's so true dumb. Too, dude. That's true. Yeah. But so, so that the radiation thing, that's the 1%. It's, I think, or the author thinks it's because we were releasing these phosphorus dirty bombs that had some, so, I don't know if phosphorus creates radiation poisoning, but whatever they were dirty bombs, whatever they released in there, that's what caused the small amount of radiation poisoning.
Can I just say one thing too? Now we should just to play devil's advocate again here, and Sam, I guess, not interested in that. He's departed?
I'm here.
A nuclear blast, like from a bomb, the radiation from that, the half-life of those particles is much smaller, and there's much less nuclear material than there would be at a nuclear plant. We should say that. So we're talking, I mean, just a tiny fraction of what there would have been at like Chernobyl or Fukushima. We're talking about actually being detonated as part of a blast.
Johnny,
so it makes sense that there would be much less radiation in a blast than there would be at a power plant.
See, this is when Johnny starts to get uncomfortable that his nerd dork friends won't accept him. So, but
no. I think it's important to say that there is a purported reason for that among the scientific community. But
Johnny, real quick, let's just also go back to what we talked about Mars, where like, oh my God, there's a nuclear war that destroyed the planet.
Still
that's radiation.
Nonsense. We don't know anything about Mars.
Yet these people are moving back into Hiroshima like a couple days later. Like none of them their story just contradicts each other everywhere. Chernobyl, right? Like, oh my God,
it's completely different though. There's so much more nuclear material at Chernobyl, Sam.
Okay, then why is there all this?
And the half-lives are much longer. The half-lives are much longer.
Right. Why is there all this wildlife around Chernobyl?
And you can do a tour.
Things can live in nuclear radiation. You just have an increased risk of cancer. That's it.
Retard deers all over the place or anything like that.
And you can get a tour at the Fukushima one.
Yeah, and you can go in there with a Geiger counter, and it is through the roof in a lot of the places that. Now the question though is, Sam. Now here's the question. But can I just get back to this though, Sam?
No,
you're right in that maybe radiation doesn't mean anything. That could be. I think that's totally possible.
Well, I mean, to play devil's advocate on that, we've all heard about the cities. We've all heard about the cities in Nevada where a lot of their cancer is high rocket. I don't know if that's fake, but you've seen the History channels where like, oh, these people get a lot of cancer because we used to nuke Arizona or Nevada, and these cities live there. Is that all?
Yeah, I mean, and you hear about radiation in airplanes and at the TSA, and the invasive fucking TSA line.
And Johnny's gonna love this one. Sam doesn't believe in radiation, but he won't go through the machine.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually.
No, I believe in that these things give off a
He just doesn't want them to see his dick.
I know they can see my dick. They can be disappointed too. I don't care.
I tried to save you there.
Oh, you're gonna love this too. So remember during the event that happened the past 2 years, any death at all, car crash, whatever, it was classified, right? Well,
by the way, we're not on YouTube. You can say COVID.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, yeah. So when the COVID, they said any death. Well, you know where they got that idea from? Well, after we dropped the bomb in Japan, for 8 months after the blast, any death, you could have been ran over by a bike, you could have been hit by a truck, a train, was classified as a nuclear bomb death.
I believe that for sure.
Same game plan, because these lizards are not at all creative. And now let's get into
not at all.
Why does somebody like North Korea have bombs? Well, North Korea is a rabble rouser. Is that what it's called? A rattle rouser, where
I mean, that means literally like stirring up the common folk. I don't know if that's
what they do anytime. So you can just tell them, regardless of what you think of Q, a lot of stuff that Q talked about became real. Like the things that were really nuts that people were talking about, that people were interpreting, which is JFK Jr.'s coming back and all that shit. So I'm going to say something that just popped in my head. I get downloads, right? we've been watching this Chat GPT thing go off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you can ask it questions and it writes shit down. Q kind of talked like a fucking AI Chat GPT, didn't it? Kind of the way it talked and the way it wrote everything out. Like, why not do a great fucking test run by doing that?
Totally possible.
Chat GPT does is it takes all the data and gives you information. Well, I've always said, what if that was just an AI that was telling you information that was out there, and people were like, no, the information's new. Okay, but what's centralizing it? Okay, one thing it talked about was that that North Korea. So if you had an AI that had access to everything, and you would ask it a simple question and it would put it out in a, you know how we could tell, you could be like, hey, ChatGPT, put out a haiku about Scottie Pippen's wife, right? And it would do a haiku about it. But what if these people were like, put out this in a certain style this way that's cryptid that people can kind of guess what you're talking about. Anyways, it would talk about how North Korea was basically a CIA front. And it was used whenever they needed to raise the defense budget. So a great way to do that is telling us that this Cabbage Patch doll fucking had a nuclear bomb, even though they couldn't get anything to take off from the fucking
Yeah, they can't actually send the bomb anywhere, but they can make one.
Yeah. It's all rabble rousing, whatever.
Okay, and this is my favorite story of this whole thing. So the Enola Gay, and obviously a funny name for a plane. That's the plane that dropped the bomb, okay, or the one on Hiroshima. And like all the stories that we've just already keep talking about, it's one of those 1 in a million. So the guy credited, his name is Thomas Farabee. He's credited with pulling the string to drop the bomb. Of course, just at the right second, except the plane was on autopilot, so he didn't actually pull the string, but that's okay. All right. So the pilot does his quote unquote signature sharp drive turning away, and he gets 11.5 miles away from the blast before the plane's rocked by the blast. And they look back and they see a huge mushroom cloud boiling up, terrible and tall. I'm using like direct quotes here. That's why I'm talking funny, but, and so they claimed they felt the shock waves, and then they felt another shock wave, which actually, that's impossible because they're, according to the merger effect, these two, you wouldn't feel two separate shock waves. You would feel one shock wave. And that's not the best part yet. So after they get to safety, they all record their impressions of like a radio broadcast. And they sound writing haikus, like column of smoke rising fast, fiery red core, bubbling masses, really selling this. And then the one quote was, it was the mushroom shape that Captain Parsons spoke about. Except the only issue is, except before they left, Parson wasn't at the Trinity test site, and he told them, no one knows what will happen. It's never been dropped from that high before. But okay, so whatever. Is he telling them what they're supposed to see? Probably. But the best part of this whole story, so before they drop the bomb, it's a big communication goes out, like no planes can fly in this area. Everyone must leave. You're all out. You can't be there. So they clear the airspace. Well, what do you know, guys? Totally by chance, a B-29 bomber, and they missed the memo. They just didn't get it. They didn't get the no fly memo. And totally luck would have it, it's not just a bomber plane. It's actually a recon plane. Oh, so lucky. And what do you know? That recon plane had a photographer on board. What are the odds of that? And so they're flying along. They have no idea, not a care in the world. And they say they see a bright flash, like a light bulb turned on their eyes. The photographer quickly turns around to shoot the damage, but this cloud's rising. So they're stepping on the gas, trying to get out of they're flying to try and outrun the 275 mile per hour winds coming after them. But they passed right over the city before the mushroom cloud could get them. But the Enola Gay plane was 11 miles away when the whole plane cracked and crinkled. These people were literally 1 to 2 miles away from the drop point. So if this plane almost collapsed from this supposed shock and this blast, how did this plane that was 2 miles away from the crash miraculously survive? It's just, and so they sent the photos that they luckily got. They're horrible photos. You can't, there's, you can't tell what's going on. But I just love that. And if the distance that they're in, they should, according to the Trinity site and all the science, they should have been in a firestorm at that point. They're not far away to get these photos without that plane being disintegrated. But it's just a funny, again, like this, what are the, no one's flying, but a recon plane that missed the calling. They have a photographer on board, and they're closer than the actual plane that dropped the bomb. They were able to capture all of this on footage.
Just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's like you brought up earlier about it being firebombed. This, if you listen to Oli Demigart, they always run simulations before the actual quote unquote event happens, right? So they have all the footage and all that stuff. So all this stuff could have easily happened before, and then they present it as it just happened. It is the game plan of the lizard people, bro.
It is, dude. Yeah.
And that's why everything is falling apart right now, because I know we have people on there and they're just like, it's all doom and gloom, blah, blah, blah. But I really do believe that we're entering an age of awareness more than ever. And people are waking up to their stupid games. And the reason they can't, going back to why they're bringing, Dick Cheney and Henry Kissinger out of the fucking graveyard, is because they think they had magic back in the day, but they can't deal with any of this stuff. They don't even know. Give Henry Kissinger a fucking phone. Tell me how long he could upload to TikTok, right? He doesn't know what the fuck's going on in TikTok, and they're just breaking everything down. The minute you put it out, we go, dude, this is a game plan. They've done it 1,000 times. Not real. Not really happening. And they're fucked. This is the age of awareness. This is why they're going to try to take out the internet. I just think there's entities of light that are pushing back, that aren't allowing them to do it. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion.
No, so some people that disagree with this, so like they would say, well, why? Okay, so we'll accept these 2 bombs are fake. Why would Japan not blow the whistle? Well, Japan was utterly destroyed, but they weren't. Their industry was not destroyed. Because of course that makes sense. If you're in a war that's torturing your POWs, of course, why would you bomb their Mitsubishi factories that's making all their weapons? But those are all still up and running for the most part. Well, that's why Japan accepted the lie, because they weren't blown to the Stone Age, which they could have been. They had no chance. So then we made promises like, we'll let your people stay, and some people stay in power, and the right people. And you guys know how easy it is to sell a lie, but that's why Japan doesn't say, the leaders say, well, that didn't actually happen. There was no benefit for them to come and say that. America had all their goals.
That oligarchies help oligarchies. Like
exactly.
The KGB and the FBI and the CIA, they'll work together when it's mutually beneficial.
Exactly.
And the lie of nuclear bombs helps both sides, helps China.
Exactly.
Helps Israel, helps Russia, helps America. It just helps everybody stay in power and keeps those out of power in fear. And that's why if Iran gets one, they'll be like, what? Yeah, exactly. That's why you couldn't make it, because it's not real.
Well, Sam, what's to stop Iran from just saying they have one then and enjoying those benefits?
Well, because then they'll just be denied, and then they'll be called liars, and then that makes them look even stupider.
Why didn't they do that when North Korea said they had a nuke? Or
well, because there's things
Pakistan
at work that are stopping them from being able to say they did it, right? I mean, like, you need to have all these things positioned, a nuclear bomb factory, all this stuff. If they're like, they don't have any of this, they're just bullshitting, which we've seen before, right? I mean, if we really didn't like North Korea, we'd be like, dude, they don't got anything. What are they talking about? That's just my opinion, Johnny.
And like I said, I don't know if hydrogen today in this day and age, I don't know. I'm not a physicist. I'm like I said, 99% sure that there was no nuclear bombs dropped in World War II. Today, do they exist? I don't know. That's the thing. Why? So the thing that argues against there today is they say, oh, it's because of mutually assured destruction. That's why nobody will release a nuke. I don't believe that, because when has the government ever said, ooh, we might lose a large percentage of our population? They wouldn't care. They wouldn't care at all. So that's the one thing that I think it's kind of like an agreed upon lie. We can say this. It instills fear. It allows us to keep building the military industrial complex. I mean, the chances.
And by the way, didn't we install the Iranian president, like the regime? Like,
sure we did.
Going back to what I was saying, like, just because someone's a leader doesn't mean they have the best interests of those countries. Look at Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden was installed by a bunch of pieces of shit to help drive this thing into the ground. Why wouldn't Iran be any different? Why wouldn't like what's going on in like the EU be like? The EU is destroying Europe. Well, how about Norway right now, where their leaders are gonna turn the military against farmers? It's like, didn't Trump make a deal with the Iranians? Maybe the Iranians want their people out because they know that they're just puppets of a regime. And as long as they rabble rouse once in a while and lets Israel take a little more land and all that stuff, that they get to stay in power. That's just my opinion. Guys, I got a jam. Jack, you crushed. Thank you so much for coming on. You knocked it out of the park. Nothing but bangers here, bro. Great job. It was a lot of fun to talk to you. One more time, tell them where they can find you.
Yes. Well, again, thank you, dude. Like I said, a dream come true. I'm going to sleep like a baby. But you can find me at Kojak Podcast, COJAC Podcast on all the places. And I got a show, I think, with Nick Hinton and Bob's Lessons on Thursday. So I'm usually live on YouTube, 8:30 Eastern. And I just read books and just did what I did here. So if you liked it, I'd love for you guys to join me.
We got us a reader, bro. We got us a reader. Real quick. Okay. So guys, I hope to see you guys tomorrow night, or tonight is Comedy Chaos. So go join us at Comedy Chaos. Then Costa Mesa, the Lock Cave Comedy. And that's on the 16th. And then Yuma at the end of the month. And then Toronto. We're going to see if Castro's kid will let me in. We will see. I'm going to drop hammers at the Royal Comedy Center. So join me. Love you guys very much. Support the show. Just go to samtripoli.com for anything you need. Guys, anything else?
No, we're rocking.
Check out Broken Sim. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Check out Broken Sim. It's a good one. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care and have a great day.
Please stay tuned after these promos for a clip from the latest Broken simulation.
All right, guys, real quick before we're done, we want to tell you about all of our affiliates. It's a great way to support the show. As you know, fiat money is chaos. Okay, fractional reserve banking, dangerous. The best way to get out of it is precious metals, in particular silver and gold, and that's why we're working at Wise Wolf. Okay, Wise Wolf silver and gold. Just go to samtripoli.com or samtripoli.gold and you could join. And he's hooking you up. They got great that you can either buy single time or you can sign up for their program where you can buy up to $500 a month. I'm doing it. I hope you can too. We also have everybody at Eagle Research. That's right. Eagle Research, AquaCure Mobile, Model AC50 brown gas, hydrogen brown gas. The guy who makes it says it's secure. People are using it. Check it out. Just go there, use the promo code tinfoil hat, 3 words, and get a discount. Go back to the main page, Sam Tripoli. You will get you get a discount with the promo code tinfoil. And then our good friends over at Haley Ray crystalshop.com. Go to the promo code is Swarm15. Get 15% off all your crystals, all your quartz, all you name it. What do we got here? Look at all this stuff. All this stuff. All the best. You can do it right there. It's all part of the best crystal shop on the internet. Jewels, bracelets, clusters, You name it. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Candles. You name it. You got it. Swarm 15. Thank you for supporting the show. We love you. And thank you so much for your support.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim. He's talking about the reasons that LGBT youth identification has doubled.
When I was in high school, I never would have been open about the fact that I was gay because people dropped faggot like every other word in a sentence. People don't do that anymore in most cases, so of course more people are going to identify. But we can't pretend that's all that's going on. We've also made it cool and trendy to be part of the LGBTQIA2+ umbrella, and we've added identities to it that, like sapiosexual, which literally just means being attracted to intelligence, or non-binary, that require nothing. They require no actual commitment or aspect of you, no transition. So of course more people will hop on the train.
What do you think about that?
I think he's right. I think there's a lot of things that he's saying there that is correct. And I think what they've done, it's very interesting, Johnny. For the first time, I think ever, the youth have decided that corporate stuff is cool.
What do you mean by that? What corporate stuff?
Like there was always like this kind of thing like, hey man, you don't want to do what, you don't want to be a part of the man.
Yeah.
You don't want to do the man stuff. And the man now is like this corporate pushed gay, queer, gender stuff. It's being pushed by corporations.
They're doing sneaky though. They aren't. It's
and
not
politicians and the power structure at the top is pushing it. And for the first time ever, kids are being embracing it. Whereas before, it always there was this outlaw underground stuff that kids wanted to do that their parents never understood.
That's and you're also seeing kids that might have been gay being told that they're in the wrong body now. You know what I mean?
An adult who does that is disgusting.
Because think about those,
and
all the
people
changes.
don't understand that. It's not that, like, most people, like, when you there's always going to be crazy people on the right that are going to say dumb shit that pisses that, and
Both
they
sides.
mostly do that to cause more chaos, right? But most people just say live and let live, leave the kids alone. And
Leave those kids alone.
I just keep saying the same thing over and over again. Most of the people that are pushing this kind of sexualization of children are all like crying about male toxicity, male sexual harassment, microaggressions of sexual harassment. And then on top of that, they're all in fucking therapy. They're all in therapy, mostly from childhood trauma. A lot of it's sexual trauma. And they're pushing this sexualization of children. You couldn't be more of a fucking hypocrite if you tried.
And think about all the changes in your body at puberty. You're naturally, especially girls, they're not gonna. They're gonna feel like weird in their bodies, and then they're gonna tell them. They're gonna tell them.
That was introduced to pornography way too early. Not from my parents either. It was just given to me from around it. It was just a piece of shits putting it out so they knew kids would find it. Sexual activity very early, okay? Very early, and then getting touched by a guy that was later convicted of pedophilia.
Is that your doctor?
No. Well, my doctor fingered my beehole, which you are trying to say it was a medical procedure.
Well, if you were constipated, it could have been.
It wasn't. I wasn't constipated.
What were you getting checked for?
A checkup.
I mean, that's weird. If it was just
and then I had Larry Watts feel me up when I got out of the shower. Okay.
Fuck you, Larry Watts.
Yeah. So, as somebody that has happened to, and I've had real problems with sex addiction, okay? And these people know this. The trauma that comes with sexualizing children. And that they're pushing this stuff.
But then when you hit puberty too, your body, especially girls, their bodies change rapidly. And I mean, everybody who goes through puberty feels uncomfortable in their bodies. And now they're told, oh, wait, no, maybe you're in the wrong body. You know, because you're sprouting boobs and having these emotions, super hormonal. And nobody's getting the chance to grow through it, grow out of it.
Go see these all ages drag shows, Johnny.
Oh, how much of that's just cross-dressing?
It's always white women.
What you mean that are the people paying to be there? Or,
yeah,
or,
and with the kids, it's always white women. And if you study everything, the women ages like 16 to like 35, more money is spent on them than any other group, any other demographic, and there's more white women than any other demographic in America. So they are the largest and the most pampered out of any demographic in America. And because of this, they have real guilt about how easy their life is.
Look at some of this shit, dude.
Like, look at this. Look at it. Yeah! I don't understand why this is acceptable.
What is happening? I just can't imagine.
And now you have all these people on the internet, defending drag shows simply because the right is pushing this.
If it was women doing this, it wouldn't be okay.
No, that's the whole thing.
I mean,
it's not about gay. It's about adults doing sexual stuff in front of children.
with almost no clothes on or skin tight
I can't
stuff.
watch this anymore. Turn it off.
It's infuriating.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hat.